Welcome to the very first episode of the brand new Stars of Stadia. Some of you may remember this started as a section in the original pre-recorded Stadia Rocks in which a special guest would answer questions for a couple of minutes. In this new, rebooted Stars of Stadia, though, I will be interviewing a well-known Stadia content creator for an hour or so, while we play a leisurely game of their choice. Think of it as Carpool Karaoke for gamers. Now, I'm really pleased that my very first guest on the new Stars of Stadia will be my good friend and Stadia Rocks buddy, Ray Sherrod, aka Ray3473. Hey Ray, thanks for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me, Rokk. It is such a pleasure to be on the very first reboot show. Thank you.
Well, I feel like this is going to be a really easy job for me because you're one of those people with literally a million stories. Before we get into those, though, what game have you chosen for us to play today?
Well, you know what? One of my favorites, and I thank you because Rockstar has got me back into it, and that's Destiny 2.
It's a great game, I know, and it's been fun watching you coming along on Fridays and playing with us, as you say, in Rockstars at night, and seeing you go, wow, I've rediscovered Destiny. It's great fun. What I thought we'd do, Ray, is because we've got some time, but not masses, I thought we'd maybe do a strike, because the great thing about Destiny strikes is you can almost do them with your eyes closed, and then that gives me an opportunity to have a chat with you. So. Sure. Let me fire that up. Folks at home, you'll be watching me doing this, which is all the wonders of technology. We won't do a nightfall because that'll be embarrassing, but we will do a strike and we're off. Right, so no idea what strike it's going to be. That's the beauty of Destiny. And while that's kicking up now, interestingly enough, given your choice of gamer tag, I think would be appropriate for us to start right at the very beginning because, of course, 3473 is your birthday.
Exactly. I was at an Xbox event, and they were setting up the game tags, and they said, "What did your game tag want to?" I was like, "I don't know." She's like, "Well, what's your name, Ray?" And she says, "Well, maybe you can, I don't know, add some numbers or something to it." And that's how I came up with, oh, wait a minute, my birthday, March 4th. And I was born in 1973. Yes, people, I'm in my late 40s. I'm old. I'm an old gamer.
No, the thing is as you know, Ray, I do eclipse, I think, just about everybody, particularly in the Stadia community from age. And interestingly enough, I remember 1973 because that year my family were emigrating to Australia. So it was one of those life-changing events that kind of sticks with you forever. But what was your sort of first memory as a kid?
Just my dad being in a Navy uniform and heading to work, going out the door.
So that was because that's the thing that people may not know, but you're very much from a military family.
Yeah, just playing with my. I remember having some Star Wars action figures and just playing. My mom having me on the floor and playing, and then my dad coming home and picking me up.
I was going to say, I thought I could hear your dad coming in, but I think it's my family coming home. So what goes around comes around. So your dad was in the Navy.
Yes, he was.
Presumably, like most military men, from his childhood, from the point when he was old enough to join the military.
Yep. Ever since I think he was in there since he was 18 is when he joined. He joined when he was young. I seen an old picture of him when he was like, and he says I remember him telling me, "Yep, I was 18 years old, scared."
Yeah, right. Okay, so he joins the Navy, and then 3 years later, a little Ray arrives, a little ray of sunshine.
Yep. And my mother's birthday is March 3rd. I was almost born on my mom's birthday, but I just went past midnight and hit March 4th, but my dad really wanted me to be born on my mom's birthday. I almost did it.
Oh. So there you are. Your dad is what, 20 when you come along. So he's very much a young dad. Presumably your mum is a similar age. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'd make a big assumption there, but typically that's kind of the way it goes. And there's this young family. He's being posted all over the world at this point, Ray, or was he still in training?
All over the world. and the United States.
Of course. Because that's certainly, I know when we've spoken in the past, I think that's one of the big abiding memories for you as a child is the fact that you literally lived wherever the Navy posted your dad. So it could have
Yeah,
been anywhere
yeah.
in Europe or even in Asia.
Cuba. Probably one of my favorite places was Cuba. I remember going to the beach. Man, small little crabs would crawl all over the place, all over the base.
Were you always confined to the bases, or were you able to kind of mix with the
No,
locals?
see,
Or
that was the beautiful thing, man, is that you could go outside the bases. And one thing my dad taught me was learning other cultures, other languages, and the food. And that's why I love traveling to other places, because the food and the people and learning other people's cultures, and also in school you would learn about their cultures as well. And so I thought that was really great. um, Being stationed in Guam, the people, they're called Chamorros. So you would learn their food, which their food, they were known for red rice. You could go
oh,
and you could go in, they call you brother, come on. They didn't care where you from, who you were. They would fix you a plate of food, and you were part of the family, you know?
wow.
So, and
Would
I
you
didn't
say,
even
Ray, that was one of your favorite places, Cuba? Because I know you stayed in quite a.
I would say Guam was probably my favorite place.
Mm-hmm,
I went to private school. I had to go to a Catholic private school,
mm-hmm.
and just the kids on the base. Uh, like there would be a new kid, and they would be scared and like, "Hey, where are you from?" It was amazing.
And it was a good time. I mean, I absolutely loved the 70s, and it's I guess everybody that grew up in a particular period says the same thing. But there was still a level of innocence, and there was still a
It
level of hope after World
was.
War II, and so on.
Oh man, I used to watch the Fonz. I love watching. Oh my god, I watched a lot of sci-fi. God, what was it? Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
I used to watch a lot of Doctor Who.
Did you? Oh
Oh
wow.
my god, yeah, dude, love me
Ah.
some Doctor Who. I loved what else? I remember watching Sesame Street. Watched a lot of that when I was young. God, I grew up watching that. I don't know if you guys remember Mr. Rogers. It's
Yeah.
a
Well, we
beautiful.
never got Mr. Rogers with his
Oh
neighborhood.
my
We got
god!
Sesame Street, and
Right.
I mean, I did watch. I knew about Mr. Rogers, of course, and because I'm quite interested in American culture, but also obviously the recent Tom Hanks film, which was absolutely superb.
I
But we certainly had Sesame Street.
grew up watching Mr. Rogers when I was a child, and it was even also overseas. So
Uh huh.
when I was young, that's what I used to watch.
But your eventually your dad was posted in Europe, and I know you spent some time over here.
My dad, he was in Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see where else. A lot of Asia, Middle East. There's a picture of I remember my dad on a camel in front of a pyramid, which was strange. And he says your legs, people shouldn't ride on camels because they stretch your legs. It's not like it's not like a horse, you know.
No, no, they're huge, aren't they?
Camels,
They're called
you get
ships of the desert for a reason. They're the size of battle tanks.
it stretches your legs out. You know, my dad, it's kind of like me, short and stocky.
Would you say? I mean, as a kid, Ray, were you someone that surrounded themselves with friends and different people, or were you more of a sort of a loner and more
Nah,
inward?
I love when as I got older, I just wanted to play with kids. I wanted
Hmm.
to be around other kids and hi, my name is Ray. Where are you from? And find out where they're from. And it was great. It was really great. Just a bunch of kids running on the bases.
I think it's fair to say it sounds like you had a good childhood.
I had a young childhood. It was very fun.
Not so much as you got older.
As I got older, my dad got stricter. So my dad, he was military. Like,
Mm.
make up your bed. Don't say yes, say yes, sir. He did not want me around bad kids and stuff like that, and he was very protective as I gotten older. But I
Was
was
he?
really a good kid.
Yeah, I
I
did.
was
You
like,
gave him no
I gave him
reason to be.
nothing. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, stay in the yard. I would play in the yard, but then sometimes, as I got older, I was able to play and go play with other kids. But he was when I was young, I couldn't go nowhere. Couldn't go anywhere.
Was he in the military until he retired, Ray?
Yes.
So yeah, so I mean, literally all your childhood and
Yep.
your
Adult.
presumably even until you got married. I mean, I don't
Married.
know. Yeah.
When I got married, nah, he got out right before I got married.
Okay. Kind
But
of
you know
mix the
what
two.
though? I thank him because of my upbringing and my mom. My
Hmm.
mom, she when we would go somewhere, my mom would teach preschool. So at certain places, she would teach like kindergarten and preschoolers. And
Okay.
my dad, my mom I was a mama's boy, so I was very close to my mom.
Hmm.
Then my dad, I think sometimes my dad say something, I go run and cry to my mom.
But with all the moving around, did it affect your schooling at all?
It
Did you?
did. I have to
Yeah.
say it did. I remember probably the worst time was when I was in the third grade. Believe it or not, I moved four different times in my third grade year. Four
Hmm.
times. Um, we were in Florida, North Carolina. God, where else was I? I was in Providence, Rhode Island, and Boston.
And these were all schools affiliated with the military, so they were private schools,
Some
basically.
some were on the bases, and
Hmm.
some was not. Some schools were advanced. Some schools were not. So you would go somewhere and you would be advanced, and then they would take you back, and then it was horrible. So I do remember third grade. I did have to go to summer school. They told me, hey, if you want to make it to the fourth grade, you got to go to summer school and take some classes, and
Oh
I did,
wow.
and eventually I passed. My mom was a huge help with that. And I felt bad. I was like, I don't want to be held back. It's not my fault. You guys move around, and so
It can kind of have an impact on your self esteem and your self confidence, I guess.
it did, and it
Yeah.
had a huge, very that you said that, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, you went to college.
I went to Laney College. And I wanted to learn broadcasting.
Oh wow.
And I went to Alameda College to learn about history. I love history.
Mm.
So it was weird because I wanted to be like a TV producer or a broadcaster. And so Laney College had one of the best, it's in Oakland, downtown Oakland, it had one of the best broadcasting studios. So I learned how to work in a studio, work in the soundboards, filming. I used to film classical bands and rock bands and certain plays and stuff, working a big, the giant cameras.
No
And
way.
yeah, film having a director in your ear telling you to how to, zoom in, zoom out, turn right, turn left. Um, that was very fun, and that's what I wanted to do. That's what I put in my when I graduated in the high school book. It said, "Seniors, what do you want to do?" And I wanted to be in TV and broadcasting. But sometimes life changed, and it didn't. I didn't had to. I was living on my own, and so I ended up working in a bakery, and I kind of had to. I ended up. They hired. They needed a dishwasher boy, and so I got hired to wash dishes, and ended up being the manager and baker.
No way.
So I was managing when I was 18 and baking. And
S-
so it kind of took me out of school. I focused more on the store than the education. And then
Mm.
later on, I got into the jewelry business, and they asked me, hey, we want to pay for you to become a gemologist. We'll pay for it, but you got to put in years. And so I did. I put in, I think, 18 years.
Wow. But that's a
But
huge. I mean, that's a huge complete step to the left versus the whole kind of broadcast dream. I mean, at what point did you just think, there's no way I'm going to make it if I try and get into broadcasting?
I just work. It was hard. I was being on my own, and
Mm,
it's tough being on your own and going to school because I was paying school myself.
okay.
And so I just happened to be in a mall. I was in a store, and I heard somebody yell, "Hey, stop him!" And the guy was running out of a jewelry store, and I just say, "Hey, I'm gonna call security." And the owner of the place came up and says, "Hey, I appreciate you calling the security. Hey, what do you do?" And I told him what I do,
Yeah.
and he says, "How would you like a real job and it'll change your life forever?" And so he gave me a card, did an interview, and he says three things: don't do drugs, don't lie, and show up to work. You'll have a job with us for a long time. And I did, and then I worked there probably about a good year. And then they said, if you really want to be a jeweler, you need to know what you're talking about. You need to know talking about diamonds, and you need to
Hmm.
talk about gems. So I Carlsbad, which is in Southern California, and it also has GIA, which is the Gemologist Institute of America. And so I learned diamonds, I learned sapphires, emeralds, stones, and how to sell it, how to grade it, how to appraise, and I became a jeweler.
And did you? I mean, were you always just involved at front of house in terms of selling the jewelry, or did you literally make the pieces as well?
I did all the above, man. They exposed me to making it. Buyer, I was a buyer. I had to I had to ride on a subway with a briefcase
Wow,
full of diamonds.
those little
And
black pouches.
yeah, I had to, if certain custom jewelry, I had to have a specialist. So I had to sit down and tell them what I needed. And we had people that were in Hollywood. We had people that played sports. Um, that I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this person's walking in this store.
Wow.
And just things that I've made. Like I made what was one of the Rolex watch. The guy says, "Hey Ray, are these diamonds in my watch? Do they look small, huh?" I said, "Yeah, you need bigger. You know, you need bigger. Let me tell you what I can do. I can put diamonds not all around, all over the watch, and inside the watch, everything. How much is that going to cost me?" You know what? Let's do this for like 100 grand. Okay, here's my card. Will
Crikey.
it be ready? And so that's what I did. Um, I would meet business people who didn't go into the jewelry stores. They wanted a private jeweler. I would go out to the city and meet them. And it's like, Ray, pearls or emeralds from my wife. I said, why don't we do both? We can mix them both up. And so I created, it was a pearl necklace, but it had a pear shaped emerald at the center, and the wife loved it. So yeah, that was fun. And then I got bored.
To actually build a reasonable income and lifestyle out of that as a career must have been huge for you.
And it was fun. And if I could go back in time, I'd probably start it all over and do it again. It was really great. But I think the best part though was educating young people who didn't know about diamonds
Hmm.
and teaching them and picking out their engagement rings. Ew. And it didn't matter if it was I sold two women, two guys, a young couple, an older couple, people of all ages, people of all races and religion, just coming in and teaching them about diamonds was fun. What am I doing? I gotta go this way. And yeah, that was fun.
What's interesting to me, Ray, is that we can see here already, your interest in broadcasting, wanting to be behind the camera, but also the skill that you built in terms of your personable attitude to customers, selling them things, talking
Mhm.
them through their choices and so on. I mean, this leads almost directly to where you are today in
Right.
terms of sitting in front of the camera and
Exactly.
being able to, project your very personable personality. But we kind of skipped ahead a bit there. I just thought it was interesting to sort of see how these lines all kind of align
Yeah.
towards where we are today. So at this point, you're training to be a what's the phrase, gemologist,
Yes.
a gemologist. And at what sort of age are we talking here now?
Oh God, we're talking 20, 19, 20 years old.
Okay. Now, interestingly enough, 1920 was not the year, but the age was when I met my wife, uh, which was about 36 years ago, I think, somewhere
Wow.
around there. Was Mrs. Ray in your life at this
Well,
time,
I can
or?
see it. Nicole is my wife,
Uh
and
huh.
she is my high school sweetheart.
There you go.
So when I was
But which
trying,
high school? You went to so
yeah,
many.
I know. Yeah, I did. Encinal High School in Alameda. Alameda is an island, pretty much. You have to go to a tunnel, like a tube, to get to from Oakland to Alameda. It's like a little island, but it was a Navy. It was pretty much Navy station. It was all Navy
Okay.
ships, and we were stationed there. So Nicole, she was born in Oakland, but she lived in Alameda. She went met driver's ed class.
No way.
Yeah, and we started dating, and she wanted to be a nurse, and she went on to college, did her bachelor's degree and everything, and in nurse science, and she's a registered nurse. Um,
Yeah, one of the
but
true
but
heroes.
but we took a five when she says, "Hey, college comes first." So we took a break for 5 years, and I actually met somebody else, and we had a daughter. You know, when you're young and you're dumb, and
Wow,
you,
but this is life, isn't it? And let's face
yeah,
it, it doesn't matter
yeah,
where you start or end. There's no
exactly.
plan for it ever. It doesn't
No,
matter what people say. Nothing's ever
no,
planned.
we hooked up. We were young, but we're still good friends, and we had a wonderful. I have a 20-year-old daughter named
Hmm.
Cynthia. And so after our relationship, I was in the jewelry store, and I remember Nicole coming in there, and she's like, I got a condo, I have my career, but I don't have you.
Oh,
And so we started dating, and then there you go. And then we got married and had my son, and that's how I met, Nicole.
that's lovely.
And my daughter and my son are very close, and I'm still close with my ex.
Hmm.
We're just big. Most important thing is the kids and family.
And yeah, I mean, your daughter is? Did you say she's 20 now?
Yeah,
Yeah. So has she got any? I mean, she's showing any signs of wanting to go into any of your career paths,
you know
broadcasting
what?
or?
She's very quiet, a good girl, never in
Hmm.
trouble. Um, she likes writing, and I think what she wants to do is write stories and write
Yeah.
books and stuff, and wants to be an author, and which is cool. Hey,
It's very cool.
you
So that's
do
what
that.
my daughter wants to do. She's going to university to study creative writing for that purpose.
Nice,
Yeah, yeah,
nice.
very similar. No, it's that's amazing. So there's a definite creative side to the Sherrod family. Although I'm
Yes,
assuming that's not the surname that you're. Um,
actually, she did. She kept Sherrod.
did she?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Oh well,
Yeah,
that's cool. That's cool.
She's Cynthia Sherrod, and I got Evan Sherrod and Nicole. Nicole didn't take my name though. She
Oh,
wants.
right. She
She,
was bad at you, man. Those
yeah,
5 years, they had an impact.
exactly. She kept her name, which is great. I don't care. It's my kids is my legacy. They got my name.
That's
Uh,
wow. Now, here's the thing. I mean, everybody knows because it's right there behind you. You're a huge collector of tech and gaming kit and stuff. But you've not mentioned so far anything that's kind of remotely tech related. Is this just something that happened later in your life, Ray, or have you always been into tech and gaming and so on?
Well, when I was young, my friends had Ataris, and I would go over their house and play Atari. The only thing I had like at a very young age was Space Invaders. I had the I had a battery operated football, soccer, Space Invaders, Frogger. I had those, and I would beg my like, Dad, all my friends have Atari. Can I get an Atari? And I never got an Atari when I was young until later on. I remember my mom. I said, "Mom, I really want a Nintendo. Please, you guys never got me an Atari, but please get me a Nintendo." And finally, at a Christmas, I got Nintendo, and it changed my life forever.
And what kind of time frame?
Very maybe. Oh my God, let's go back. Probably middle school. Middle
Okay.
school
Oh
is when I
wow.
got my Nintendo.
So yeah, late 70s, no, early 80s, I guess.
Nintendo came out like 85.
Okay.
Remember Rob the Robot?
Oh, see, this is the thing because the whole Sega Nintendo Japanese console thing completely missed me. I just it just because I'm that little bit older than you, so
Right.
85. I was out dating, man. it was only a year later I met my wife. So that whole period completely went
Yeah,
by me.
brother. This the
Yeah, yeah.
Nintendo completely Super Mario, Duck Hunt, and then I just started collecting Nintendo games. Nobody had a Nintendo collection like I did, man. I cut grass. I What did I do? I got a working at a grocery store. I was bagging groceries and
It
just
was, but I mean, this is the thing, isn't it? Because I think it's one thing that's come across tonight is that there is a very strong work ethic.
yep,
You've stated how you would you couldn't do a certain thing, so you got into bakery. Someone offered you an opportunity to become a gemologist. You took their hand, you ran with it. So I can see there's a strong desire to better yourself here. To the sort of via work, via sweat and blood.
I get that from my my mom and dad, man. My mother and father. They taught me that.
And that's something I get as well, Ray. Not so much now because we haven't really touched on it yet, but in previous conversations, I get that family is a very important part of your life.
Very, very, very important. Very important. Family always first. And that's the when I worked in the jewelry store, that was their, you know, take care of your family. Hey, my daughter's sick, my son's sick.
Hmm.
Hey, go take care of your family first. Um, and that's what I tell people when I was managing other people. And I'm still keep in touch on Facebook, but I had to leave. We had a recession,
Hmm.
and he had to let people go. And I said, you know what? It's time for me to try something different. And I left and got into property management.
So this was what post 2008, presumably after the big global meltdown.
You know it, brother.
Uh
He
huh.
had a meeting. He says, you guys are like family, but I have to keep it real. I can't. I just. He has to get jewelry and he has to sell it, and he had to cut back. He had to close some stores, and it was horrible. It was really horrible.
Wow. We're still. I mean, people are still being impacted from that time. Terrible time.
Yeah.
But you went into property management, which again, complete 90-degree turn
Yeah.
on what
Yeah.
you'd ever, anything that you'd done up until this point. So what was that? Was that just a chance, an opportunity that came up? I'm presuming you didn't sit there and think, hey, I quite fancy getting into property management.
I had to get trained, and then I had to. I was an assistant, and then I worked my way up to management, and then I got some properties that I was in charge of, and then they
Hmm.
had me train other managers. And so it was tough, but I did it.
And in and around all of this change, because I mean, all humans we're not lovers of change. We don't mind it if we manage it and control it, and it happens all
Right.
the time. But when there's some big changes like you get in any kind of a recession, it's difficult. Was gaming was it something that you sort of had there as a constant, Ray, that kind of got
Sure
you
did.
through all that stuff?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. When I had my Nintendo, I went on to Super Nintendo and so on and on. And I had to make sure I got every other console after that, which I still have on here with me.
Yeah, I've seen the
So
collection there.
so yeah, I think Nintendo started my love for consoles.
I think that was the thing. I had the same business through the 2008 recession that I have today, but it was tough for all of us, and I think certainly gaming was the one solace that I found in and around all of that. That and obviously my family, which goes without saying, and clearly it's the same for you. But sort of moving into 2013, 2014, when Destiny first came out, and that for me in those early years of
Uh-huh.
Destiny, this was my constant. This was the place that I went to switch off. This was my oasis, as it were. And I'm
God,
assuming that that's the kind of thing for most of us that are into gaming. It gives us an escape from
it does, brother. It does.
whatever it is in the day that we got to do.
It definitely did for me. And when I was younger in school, if I had a bad day in school, I could go home, fire up my Nintendo, and then just start playing my games. If I got into it with my dad, I could go in my room and play Nintendo. I think my dad, though, he was kind of like, too much video games. You need to focus more on school, which he was absolutely right.
Mhm.
But as when you're young, you're like, no, no, I just want a game. I just want a game. But yeah, gaming was my like playing Zelda. I remember playing Zelda, being lost in the very first Zelda and Metroid. Those games is what pretty much did it for me when I was young.
There's a definite 80s. There's a definite 80s thing. I think anybody that kind of grew up in the 80s. And, to a degree, I miss that. I never went to university either. There's two things that I feel in my life I missed out on. One of them was going to university or college. And the other one was the whole Nintendo thing in the 80s. Because I ran out of stuff to talk to people about.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got to start somewhere, and Nintendo was there for me, and it was huge. And then through the '90s, it got even more crazier with the Super NES and the Sega Genesis.
Mm.
Um, those are the first. When I got my first place, I didn't even buy furniture. I didn't even buy. I had a TV, and I had a Super Nintendo, and I had my Sega Genesis.
It's I remember you telling me because a very good friend of yours, Kevin, you kind of both got into Xbox around the same time, and
Yes.
so tell us that story.
Kevin introduced me to actually what did he introduce? I remember the Sony PlayStation, and he was telling about Sony, and I was laughing at him, and I was like, dude, Sony sells radios and TVs and Walkman,
DVDs, videos,
video.
VHSs.
Yeah, it's like, come on. And I said it's not gonna work, it's always gonna be Nintendo and Sega. So he
Yeah,
says, come over to the house, and I watched. And I think 2 days after that, I got Sony PlayStation. And then I remember the Xbox came out, and sure enough, again, I got hooked. I got hooked again.
he's, he's like your tech dealer.
Yeah, yeah. And so but I returned the favor later on. But we'll get back into that.
But so you've gone right the way through the whole gamut of Nintendos. You've got yourself into PlayStation. You then migrated into Xbox. I mean, you are in essence an all-round gamer, aren't you? You've never
Yes.
really been a fanboy per se,
No,
and I
I
think
like
even to this day that's the case.
No, I like them all because I
Hmm.
think they all, they all each have their different exclusives and they all bring something to the table. But I like gaming, period.
And what would you say is the thing about gaming? What, is it the escapism, Ray? Is it the challenge? What is it that gets you every time?
The whole imaginary worlds,
Yeah, yeah.
the the sports. I love sports games. I mean, just taking you somewhere. I used to get excited about 8-bit graphics. So watching polygon square shapes.
See, it seems to me, and I think this again goes back to your desire to want to get into broadcasting. I think creating worlds,
Yes.
so I think it was even there the ability to create make believe worlds,
Yes.
and and then to be able to do that in a gaming fashion.
Definitely a huge, huge, huge. When I was a little boy, I used to do a lot of imaginary stuff
Yeah.
with my friends and stuff. So to act that out in certain gamings or play that, and then also some of the games, they had your favorite movies and your TV characters and stuff that you watch was also fun. Playing one of your characters, and
And
act.
of course sports as well.
Oh, being one of your favorite, if you had a football star
Yeah,
and
yeah.
picking that team and playing as that football star, yeah. Oh man,
I know I was the same, Ray, when I was a kid. I'd just give me my Star Wars figures or Planet of the Apes, and I would just create these worlds for days. I mean, they would just have an entire existence, and then to be able to do that in a digital form, I think
yes,
is one of the major reasons that I've always loved gaming. So let's bring it forward a little bit. Now, you and I were now both playing here on Google Stadia,
yes,
which is no great surprise as the show's called Stars of Stadia. Can you remember, Ray, because we're now just over a year old as a platform. Can you remember the first time that you heard about Google Stadia?
yeah. I was bored with my Xbox and my PlayStation, and I was looking for something, and I was searching um, on my computer, and I came across something called Google Stadia, and I started reading about it, and I said, "Whoa, they're getting ready to have this event." So, you know what? I'm going to watch this event. And so I watched the event and I was sold when they were talking about how 4K streaming and being able to go from your phone to your TV to your computer to your laptop. I was like hooked. I was hooked. And I remember Cyberpunk. I found out Cyberpunk was coming to the platform and
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. So I could play because I didn't have a powerful PC. And I said, I could play Cyberpunk on my TV and on my phone. I said, you know what? I'm gonna do it. And so I sent the money off for my state. I'm actually a Stadia founder.
Yeah.
And as soon as I plugged it in, I'll be honest, there was some a little slow and latency and stuff, but I
Hmm.
realized that I didn't have the best internet, but it still played good. Once in a while, the connections would lose, and it wasn't until later I got a better internet connection. But the tech was amazing and it worked, and I loved it since day one.
That must have been disappointing though when you've been looking forward to it, and then there's a bit of lag,
Right.
and then you're hearing from other people saying, "No, no, it's amazing. It's your internet."
Exactly. And that's what turned a lot of people off. But I would try and explain to them that people, this technology is amazing and it's the future. And a lot of people thought I was crazy.
It's been an amazing journey, hasn't it? And we're now at this point where it's just going from strength to strength.
We got Cyberpunk D and Date. I got fiber internet, which I have no issues whatsoever.
Hmm.
And then I have over 100. They used to talk about no games. I have 115 Stadia games.
Wow, that's virtually the entire library, Ray. Were you content creating before you got involved with Stadia?
I was streaming PlayStation and Xbox, but I would probably have one or two people in the stream,
Okay.
and it just wasn't work it just wasn't working. And so you know what? I'm just gonna play my Stadia and enjoy Stadia. And
Hmm.
then I started seeing a lot of other content creators in the community, and then just the community. And so I said, you know what? I want to get back to streaming, and I think I'm just gonna do Stadia streams. And then I got hooked, and I just got very passionate.
Yeah.
And now it's just now it's like I can't stop. It's like a part of me now.
It gets under your skin,
It
mate, doesn't it?
does. It does. It's addicting.
So you're like me then, in many ways, that Stadia was the kind of catalyst that got you into the whole content
It
creating
it,
thing.
it did. It made me research how to do a better stream and get advice. I got advice from you and other streamers and other content creators, and what to do and what programs to play and stuff like that. And so I did it, and it's probably one of the greatest things I've ever did in my life, because now it's like my hobby that I do every
Mm.
every week. I have to, if I'm not playing the game, I'm streaming it.
And it really has come full circle, hasn't it? Because in essence, this is what you wanted to do when you signed up to that course for broadcasting. And, it's a different world back then, of course, and it was
Well,
an
it's I
expensive
I
business to
got
get into.
I have the best of both worlds, because now I'm broadcasting, but I'm also playing games and talking with people that love and are passion have the same passion that I do, and that's games and streaming. Yeah,
And so I think that in and of itself is a great story. There's this kid that really wanted to get into broadcasting. For whatever reason, there were glass ceilings there.
right.
It just wasn't going to be at that time.
Hmm.
Whereas now everybody can be a broadcaster. Everybody with just minimal amount of equipment,
Yeah,
with no glass ceilings, with complete open avenues for us all. And the great thing, I think, and I think this is to our benefit, Ray, is that we get to interact with somebody with a fantastic personality, which is yourself. And those are things that don't always come across. If you'd become a producer or a director, as you'd hoped, we'd never have got to know the Ray that we know today.
no, thank you for saying that, and I appreciate that. I just got great advice from a lot of mentors in the Stadia community, and then just watching people like Clive and people like Wingy and people
Hmm.
like Eddie and Chase, Meg. I just watched their
Yeah.
streams and kind of honestly just not trying copy or anything like that, but just
Learn the good
learn,
habits.
get some habits and bits and pieces. Get the people involved. Stream stuff that's not going to be boring but
Hmm.
exciting.
I think as well, something that I've seen as a side of you, Ray, that again I don't think many people have seen, but I think it's there if people care to look for it, and that is a caring side of you. I know that there are some streamers that you've taken under your wing,
Yes.
that you've become a mentor to in your own right, in the same way
Yes.
that the guy that got you introduced to gemology did for you
Right.
all those years ago. And I think that's a side of you that, and it's a side of me as well. It's an aspect of my life as well that I hugely enjoy, taking people that maybe not quite as fortunate as us for whatever reason, and just giving them a leg up. Just saying, look, come on, I'll look after you. I'll look out for you. Let me see if I can, we can. There's no reason at all. And we just said this as a medium has no barriers. Anybody can do it. Just looking forward, we kind of covered the past, we've covered the present. Do you have a bucket list? Are you one of those people that has this list of things that you want to do?
Wow, bucket list. that's let's see. My bucket list would definitely do some more traveling with my wife.
Mm-hmm.
She's my wife's an RN. She's a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
She, as you know, it's tough right now, especially in the medical field. And I would love to take her somewhere and relax, and just not have to worry about stressing over a job and having a good long vacation and seeing the world. Another thing that I would love, my son does have epilepsy, so he
Mm-hmm.
has seizures now and then. I would love to see that eventually go away. My sister, I had a sister and she had it,
Mm-hmm.
and and now she's happily married and just had a new. I think I got a new niece 2 months
Oh,
ago.
congratulations.
So she doesn't have her seizures no more. So I hope my son kind of grows out of them.
Yeah.
But that's something that I would love to see, because I would love to see him get into sports and play soccer and football. It's tough trying to play a sport and then how you don't know when you're gonna have a
Of course.
it's horrible. But and then also just game on, man. I want to game till I'm 70. I want to
That's
be.
so fun.
That's,
I
if
want
I,
to game till I'm 170.
I just, that's the thing. When people find out, they're like, "Wait a minute, how old are you?" And it's like people in their 40s and 50s and
Yeah.
60s
Yeah. Yeah.
game. It's a
It's
part of me. It's a part. I love just next gen. I love retro too. So I'll sometimes put down my next gen controller for an old Atari stick controller, or play some old Nintendo, Atari. I got a Game Boy. I still have my old Game Boy, and play some Tetris or something on it. So
nice.
because it's game is game, man. It's just enjoying yourself and having fun.
And it's a hobby that you can take anywhere.
Hey, I went to the doctor and I, I pulled my phone out. I can play Stadia. I told my wife when this pandemic is over with and we go on vacation, all I got to do is pack up the controller,
Yep.
my Chromecast, and I we can load it up in the hotel and play it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But she doesn't share the same interest as far as gaming
You
concerned,
got
does
to
she?
I got to find, like, there's some Uno. She loves Uno. She loves Monopoly and Family Feud.
Yeah.
She was Wait a minute, there's Family Feud. Yes, there's Family Feud on Stadia. Um the probably the multiplayer fighting games and stuff, of course she's not going to be interested in, but card games, board games, it's no different.
So, Ray, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been
It's a
absolutely
pleasure.
fascinating.
Thank you for the questions and bringing me back to some old memories.
Absolute pleasure. I'm sure I speak for everybody when I say you sir, are truly a star of Stadia. So stay safe, keep
Thank you.
shining,
Thank you, my
and
friend. Thank you.
we'll fade away as this game kills us both. 'Cause I don't know that we're going to complete it today. But thank you ever so much, my friend. We'll be back for another Stars of Stadia with a surprise guest. And in the meantime, have a great 2021, everybody.
Cheers.
Ray, thank
Take
you very
care.
much.
Thank
You
you.
take care, my friend.